Well, good morning. There are there are three foundational founder mindset challenges that impact all other aspects of entrepreneurship. They have to do with founders' identity, capacity, and narrative or story. Today, we will explore these challenges during the wake-up call session, then roll right into a Q&A period before we spend some time with Zach on the hot seat, which I look forward to. If this is your first time experiencing a wake-up call, our purpose is simple. It's to unfold ideas and complexities by changing your frame of reference. So stay open to challenge your biases and comfort zones. Stay open to challenge what you may think is obvious. We're simply here to provoke and ignite. At the end, my friends, you create the fire, and hell, you are the fire. So before I begin, I'd like to remind you to check out our 3-minute quick tips for the deliberate entrepreneur and founder sessions on Spotify. Um, Let us know how you would like them and how we can improve them. So let's begin. Last wake-up call, we discussed how uncertainty is always present, and how risk and opportunity are both a part of uncertainty. We landed on how awareness of uncertainty opens paths, roads to innovation and growth. And that the more aware you are, and the more often, the more opportunities you can discover. We explored the fundamental idea that risk depends on context, awareness, and your decisions and actions. And at the end, we create the risks we are willing to face with our own decisions. Yes, there are always millions of potential risk conditions, but there are no pre-existing conditions that let me emphasize, there are no pre-existing risk conditions that cannot be influenced by our decisions. That doesn't mean eliminate it. So today, I like to focus on the three founder mindset challenges that directly influence the opportunities ahead of us, the risks we face or we create, and the decisions we make. When you when you strip away the tactical noise, things like AI, product fit, automation, unit economics, regulations, and capital, three mindsets states challenge the founders. Uh, these three are important because they directly impact how and if your business execution and strategy will work or stall. The first of foundational challenge, the core mental tension there, has to do with who am I becoming as I build this company? Who am I becoming as I build this company? And is that who I want to be? Founders, if they're honest with themselves, are concerned about losing themselves in the company's daily needs. More sales, more engineers, hiring the right people, building the right brand or a brand, getting investors and more capital, design issues and cash flow shortfalls, and so on. They're concerned about drowning in the demands of the venture they've created. Many founders are concerned about confusing their founder role, I'm the CEO, with their real an authentic identity, concerned about the cost and the pressure of being the center of gravity. When it comes to identity, founders are slightly afraid of a shift, an unwanted change in their identity, a kind of a identity drift. Drift in identity that leads to poor decisions, that leads to uh, being blind to opportunities and taking unnecessary risks, leads to poor hiring, to compromised product offerings, to emotional and business volatility. So when and how does this drift begin? Let's face it. We all have coexisting identities at work, at home, facing our kids, parents, or even pets. But there's always a core self, the core that wraps around our values, temperament, and true aspirations. Layers that rarely change. We also have an adaptive, what I call situational self, the version of us that we feel is required to show up for the current stage, this moment, for the now. I'm in the fundraising mode, hiring mode, crisis mode. This layer is constantly changing. And then we have a projected self, the self that you may create and present to investors, team, and markets. This layer is made up, is curated, selected, organized, and kind of assembled based on what we think others are looking for. You see, identity drift happens when the adaptive, the situation one, or the projected, the curated, the made up one layers swallow the core self. The second fundamental mindset challenge is capacity. Can I expand my mental and execution capacity faster, faster than the complexities around me or approaching me? Can I avoid being overwhelmed, avoid burnouts while scaling the business? Can I stay calm under exponential uncertainty and make decisions without full information? The founder's challenge here is how to expand capacity and avoid collapse and drain. Let me explain. Founders' capacity often collapse, not from work volume, but from unseen drains, from unresolved conflicts, unmade decisions, unclear expectations, ambiguous roles, your roles or your team's roles. Capacity collapse happens when you try to run everything through one mental channel, combining the executive and strategic mind with the operator mind. Executive mind deals with strategic thinking, long-term planning, and calm decision making. The operator mind is focused on rapid execution, tactical problem solving, crisis response, and short-term prioritization. Capacity expands when you deliberately separate the two and learn to consciously switch between them. The third and final fundamental challenge is narrative or your story. It begins with the question, can I control the story, my story, the business story? Can I control the story internally? That's within me and for my team. And externally, for partners, investors, and customers. Is the narrative I'm creating powerful enough to survive uncertainty, or is it fragile and weak? Can it survive markets, investors, and customer pressures consistently? Would it collapse when we face a bad quarter or a failed product launch? You see, founders feel a heavy weight on their shoulders for being the storyteller in chief. Narratives, the story that defines your venture, is really, truly the driver of your business. Narrative is your venture's mental operating system. When the narrative is strong, the founder is strong, the team is strong, and the company is strong. When the narrative cracks, everything cracks. Ineffective founders perform a narrative. They create stories to please the audience, the customers, the partners, the investors. Powerful founders own a narrative. Narrative performance is about rehearsed, overly optimistic, maybe investor pleasing stories. Owned narratives are grounded, flexible, and honest about risks. Bottom line. Bottom line, founders wrestle with three fundamental mindset challenges. You can see them, if you wish, as three existential questions: identity, who am I becoming? Capacity, can I handle the next level? And narrative, what story am I living and leading? Everything else, from confidence, resilience, and commitment to nervousness, fear, and discipline, is a subtopic of these three. So we're coming up at a time to go to the Q&A, but before we get to the Q&A, let me leave you with a few ideas to think about. First, identity drift is not a personal or personality problem. It's a structural problem. Let me give you a test. If your company requires you to pretend to be confident, hide uncertainty, act like a superhero, and suppress your natural leading style, then the company's architecture is wrong. Fix the architecture, not yourself. Second, founders who succeed treat their mental and execution capacity as a trainable and expandable asset, not as a fixed character feature or flaw. Founders who fail treat capacity as a battery that drains. Lastly, narratives are weak and fragile when performative, when created for others. They are powerful when they are coherent and simple, founder-owned, team-carried, market-aligned, and emotionally sustainable. So with that, let's get to the Q&A. Okay. Q&A. First question. What do you do to constantly improve your entrepreneurial mindset at a time when there are so many information sources around you? That's a very good question. So there's this idea of information overload. I think we have in one of the, I think it's in one of the conversational collections that I drill down on this idea of punctuating your mind. You know, there's this Chinese feng shui idea that the energy flows through where you live and how you live, and and if you place things and you know your furniture and all of that in a certain way, then the energy flows in a different way and uh, much effectively. The same thing happens in our mind. We have a mental overload when we get too much information and we're trying to solve all of those. And every time we have a new information, guess what happens? The engine, the CPU, begins to bring that in and to process it. So this is one of the elements that I was talking about, capacity. Capacity has to do with things that we add to our things to do, and they don't get resolved. The ability to quickly, and this is when you get into the operator mindset, not planning mindset. I've seen many, and I do work with with a few with a few CEOs and founders today that I see this now. Now, it's not something I've seen in the past. I see it all the time. That they combine this strategic mindset that, oh, I've got to have this ability and can I be here? And strategically, where are we positioned? And all of that planning, long-term stuff. And they confuse that with day-to-day stuff. So they bring those big picture stuff to the daily stuff. And then they take the daily stuff to the big picture stuff. And there is a conflict. Uh, so decisions don't get made. So these additional informations, whether they're coming in from our team, they're coming in from the market, they're coming in because AI is doing this or doing that, all of that becomes a drain on our capacity to execute. So the trick is, which is not easy, to be able to operate in two modes, the strategic mode and the operator mode. And when you're in the operator mode, it's not about a big picture information that may manage your thing. It's about executing in that time, at that time, knowing that there will be a tomorrow to execute at a different level. Um, Next questions. And if you want, um, we can you can have another question or whatever. If you want to get some examples or so forth, we can get there as well. Uh, Among the three challenges, which one kills the most promising founders and why? They're very different. This is a very good question. They're very different. They are very different, and they kill in different ways. Uh, let's take the capacity. From an execution perspective, capacity is the biggest killer. Um, we overwhelm ourselves. There are so many things. We're in the middle of things. There are 14 different decisions to be made, and they're not made. And we're thinking, oh, what if this happens? I'll do this. And they've told us to, hey, you got to have options. So we have 17,000 options, and all these decisions aren't made. All these people aren't performing. All these funding issues are there. And in a week, I've got so all of those things from a capacity problem begins to get us to a place where we make poor decisions because there are too many things. It's normal. You know, I say it's like a computer that overheats in a way. So we say, oh, I need personal time. So we disconnect. And guess what? While we're disconnected, the world is changing, is moving, things are happening. Um, I've seen this a lot. Oh, I get too many emails, so I don't want to answer emails. Well, guess what? As a founder, if you're setting a direction and things have to be moved, if you're not if you're not looking at your Slack or emails and you're not engaged, guess what? You're not engaged, and things could go haywire, and it takes a long time to get things back, and then you're upset, and there are another six decisions that you've added on the top. So the answer is from a capacity perspective is this ability to be able to avoid draining it by making the decisions when they need to be made and not confusing again the different levels of operation. But so that's capacity impacts execution significantly. Then you have identity. Identity creates a confusion, particularly when it becomes performative. Uh, a lot of a lot of these entrepreneurial tricks, one, two, three, do this, do that. They force you into, okay, here's the PowerPoint and here's what you have to be. Uh, this is the VCs look for this or look for that, and you begin to mix up the identity of who you really are and lose the mission, and then it creates confusion with the team. It creates confusion with the people, and it creates an inability to really gain trust. So let me give you an example. Uh, you have you have people who see you as your identity or the company doing this in front of the customers and doing this in front of the investors, and there's no coherent uh, way of understanding that, and then everybody begins to drain. Now, that links us to the narrative or the story of the company, which is very, very critical. That's another piece that we say, oh, the venture capital people or the customers want this. So you begin to become performative in that narrative. You become create a story that could have flaws in it, or it could say, oh, we're going to be here by September 12th. Well, if you've ever run a company and if you've ever invested in one, you know that that's not going to happen. The likelihood is 99.9%. But because people say, oh, you have to project confidence and a this and a that, people do that. So what that does is the minute that you fail in delivering that, you begin to challenge your identity, and then you're going to lose trust in front of the investor. So the three are kind of commingled in a way. Identity and narrative has a lot to do with strategy and effectiveness of the organization, and trust and capacity has to do with the ability to execute. Okay, let's move on. We've got a few minutes. We've got some questions. Sid, as an investor yourself, do you invest on a founder's strong mindset even if you think their initial business idea is weak? The answer is 100% yes. Um, if I so let's divide it up into two things. A is if the mindset of the founder is strong, uh, is is real, is flexible enough, but committed enough. It's the identity is, and you don't feel that this is a fake persona that's being doing this. It's not a story that they bring to the table that is made up. The entrepreneur has the ability, and you can see it from people, of prioritizing, of taking things from point A to point B, and along the way being resilient, not resistant. Now, ideas are important. Some ideas are not investable as a venture capital. Some are. So the basic idea uh, is important. But if you see the idea can be expanded, and the entrepreneur has the ability to evolve that idea into something that's better, then there is an opportunity to get engaged. Again, a lot of entrepreneurs fall in love with their idea, fall in love with their product, fall in love with what they're doing for clear reasons. They've thought about it days and nights and days and nights. If they're scientists, they've worked on it for day in and day out for many years in some cases. So it's their baby. And it's not the idea is not to say your baby is ugly. But sometimes entrepreneurs look at it from their perspective, and oh, this is a great thing, so the market must need it. If the market doesn't need it, they're idiots. If somebody isn't investing, they're idiots. Well, if you have the ability to find the right market, who really has the reason to want what you want. Or the same thing goes with investors. Investors invest based on their own reasons. Um, then that would make sense. But if it's my way or highway, that becomes also part of this mindset issue. I call it uh, founderitis, which is kind of like arthritis of founders. They have a fixed mindset, and that's where they want to go. Um, so um, the quick answer is yes. The strong mindset of the founder gives them a definite edge and increases the probability of engagement. Okay. How do you build structure? Can you recommend books or other materials? Thank you. No, thank you for being here. How do you build structure? So there are a lot of there are lots of books and stuff. Actually, we have just added a resource center. So if you're a member, you would be able to get access to it. Uh, some of the books that I thought are important, but we've summarized them. I've summarized them so that they're easier read, if you would. Uh, I mean, they're great books. The Lean Startup is a great book. The stuff that Steve Blank has done is great stuff. The things about the product market fit that comes from the Anderson Horowitz group is pretty good. But here's where I separate skills from skillfulness, and I want you to take this to heart. It is important to build the structure. It's very important. You do need to understand accounting, whether you like it or not. We're not saying become an accountant, but you need to understand the relationships between um, revenue, between costs, between margins, between assets, between R&D. That you have to understand it if you want to be in entrepreneurship. That doesn't make you an accountant. It makes you aware of the finances and how things work. You need to understand marketing. You need to understand branding. You need to understand HR and human dimension of people behavior. You need to understand um, uh, you need to understand design, obviously, if that's what you are. You need to understand sales, how people buy and why people buy. So there are structural elements, things that you have to do, and there are again. I mentioned a couple of things; those are foundational elements. But there's lots of books. Now, the key is you have to make the structure fit you because you are unique. Whether you like it or not, your business is unique. You are unique. Your employees are unique. This particular time, environment, economy, all of that is unique. Your customers are not the same customers as somebody else that wrote that book did 10 years ago. These are different customers. They're unique. So fitting that within the identity of what and who you are will increase the chance of that structure or architecture work. So it's important to have the skills, but the skillfulness of pulling it together all together, in my opinion, is really what drives success and prosperity and continuous evolution and learning. So I think we might have time to answer one question, one more question, and I have to be rather quick. So, presenting a narrative to a team requires fully understanding of the story. What do we do with uncertainty in the narratives when team wants complete story? Ha, very good question. So here's where it comes that if you have to your team, provide a complete story, provide a complete story, then the relationship with the team is problematic. Now, this is what I mean. What I mean is If the team understands that uncertainty is part of life, you're not IBM, you're not Procter and Gamble. This is not the government that you work in this division, and that's exactly how things work. I know people like consistency, people like a structure, but people are also people, just like you and I. And if communicating the story and saying, here's what we're going to do, these are the three challenges we're going to face. There is uncertainty, but we're prepared to challenge those. And guess what? You, as the employee who are here, you are a part of this story, and together we will solve it. Now, that doesn't hide the risk. That doesn't hide the risk, but it keeps the story and the narrative real while directionally the same and consistent. I hope that makes sense. All right. Let's take a minute or so break and then come back and spend some time with Zach.
Every other Friday, our members show up for the wake-up call. It's where fresh ideas spark, perspective shift, and you walk away with something new to think about. And then we roll right into the hot seat, where real challenges get unpacked and real breakthroughs happen. But here's the secret: the wake-up call, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Once you step inside Anabasis Academy, you'll unlock your full dashboard, which is your gateway to everything the Academy offers, all in one place. It starts with the archives of every wake-up call and hot seat we've ever done. So if you miss a live session, or you want to relive that one insight that stuck with you, it's all right there, ready when you are. You'll also find our conversational collections, curated deep dives on powerful themes, weaving together different perspectives so you can explore them at your own pace. Then there's the Expert Circle, in-depth discussions with accomplished leaders and innovators, sharing the kind of hard-earned wisdom you won't find in a book or quick video. And of course, the Public Square, the heart of our community where ideas keep evolving even after the calls end, and where conversations often spark entirely new insights. You can even take all of this value with you on the go through downloading our mobile app. So the Academy is always at your fingertips. So if you've enjoyed what happens here live, just wait until you see the rest. We can't wait